Libra darling, did you know that someone extremely wealthy, powerful and emotionally guarded has been thinking about you, not with fleeting curiosity, but with a depth even they don't understand? This isn't just a horoscope. This is your cosmic signal. Because what's coming for you between November 2nd and 7th will shake your perspective of love, connection, and even your role in someone else's spiritual awakening. Welcome to Zodiac Whisper Tarot. If you're watching this right now, if you felt even a subtle pull to click, then please understand, you didn't arrive here by accident. The energy that brought you here is part of a design far greater than coincidence. You see, Libra, this week's message is unlike any other. Because a man whose life appears perfect on the surface is quietly unraveling behind closed doors. And the reason? You. Not your appearance. Not your words. But your energy. Your emotional intelligence. Your unshakable presence. You become the mirror this person can't look away from. And when the mirror reveals something they've never faced before, it causes fear, awe, and an almost magnetic obsession. This man, rich, composed, and admired, is discovering that none of his possessions can silence the inner calling that your frequency awakens in him. And while you may not know it yet, you are already shifting the orbit of someone who thought he had full control over his world. But here's the part no one sees. He didn't come to you because he was ready to love. He came because you are the danger to his illusion. And that's where your power begins. So let me ask you, have you ever met someone who seemed completely put together? But when they looked at you, something in them broke open? Has anyone ever told you that being around you makes them question everything they thought they knew? If yes, you may already feel what this message is leading toward. If not, you're about to. Now, before we go further, allow me to take a breath and offer something deeply sincere. I want to thank you. Your presence here, your attention, your willingness to feel, reflect, and explore these sacred messages means more than you know. Every like, every comment, every new subscriber is not just support. It's a thread in this growing constellation we call the Zodiac Whisper Tarot community. You are part of this sacred circle and I see you. And trust me, Libra, you'll want to stay with me until the very end of today's reading. Because what the universe is revealing is not just about a man who wants you. It's about a spiritual contract being reactivated. A lesson in love, power, and the kind of transformation that money simply cannot buy. So now I ask you to check in with yourself. If this is resonating, even if you don't fully understand why yet, drop a comment below and write, I am ready to receive what's meant for me. Not because you're passive, but because your soul already knows it's time. Let's go deeper. There's something undeniably stirring in the energetic field this week. Libra, something that feels both ancient and entirely new. You may not see it unfolding in visible ways just yet, but beneath the surface, a cosmic design is taking shape. When we talk about the lunar influence on November 4th, that waning moon in Pisces, we're referring to a time when emotional undercurrents rise like quiet tides. Pisces doesn't scream. It whispers. It dissolves the boundaries between logic and intuition, and it asks us to listen without speaking. And for you, Libra, this is especially potent because it stirs not just your inner world, but someone else's, someone who's been watching you with both admiration and confusion. You see, the week from November 2nd to 7th carries a rare combination of aspects that put you in the middle of a subtle but significant energetic tension. Venus, your ruling planet, the planet of love, beauty, and relational harmony, comes into a rendezvous with Saturn, the planet of discipline, responsibility, and often cold emotional walls. When these two meet, it doesn't create easy chemistry. Instead, it activates a polarity: softness versus structure, emotion versus control, truth versus suppression. This is not a week of shallow flirtations or superficial connections. This is soul-level pressure rising from the inside out, and you, Libra, are the trigger. Let's talk plainly. Someone who appears to have it all: money, respect, status, is beginning to unravel. And it's not because you said or did anything flashy. It's because your presence carries an energetic truth that exposes what's missing in theirs. Like placing a drop of pure water into a glass of artificial dye, your vibration destabilizes the illusion. This person sees in you what they can't fabricate: peace without pretense, calm without control, wisdom without manipulation. Your balance threatens their need to dominate. But deeper than that, your light reveals their shadow. And that's not something money can manage. Astrologically, when Venus meets Saturn, we're also seeing karmic contracts activate. These are moments when people are drawn together not out of need, but out of divine design, not because it's comfortable, but because it's necessary. And while Saturn can bring heaviness, it also offers the gift of long-term transformation. This is the kind of energy that refines love by removing ego. But make no mistake, the person you're affecting isn't used to being changed. They're used to changing others. And that's why you feel like a disruption. But what if you're not a disruption at all? What if you're the recalibration their soul has secretly prayed for? Sometimes we ask God for change, but we expect it to arrive in forms that won't challenge our pride. Yet divine answers rarely accommodate ego. Instead, they come disguised as the very thing we resist: truth. And in this case, Libra, you are the truth. Your energy, your boundaries, your refusal to be bought, all of that is sacred. And it is awakening something dormant in this person's heart. Not because you're trying, but because you exist. The tarot confirms this storyline with elegance and precision. The Emperor card tells us this person is used to power, the kind that builds empires but often isolates the soul. The Four of Cups reveals a restless emptiness, a heart numb to success. And the Justice card, your card, appears to restore equilibrium, to remind them that no empire is complete if love is missing from its foundation. What you're doing, Libra, is more than emotional. It's energetic. And while this week may not bring big declarations or dramatic gestures, it's already shaking the core of someone's belief system. You are the mirror that reflects not their image, but their essence. And that's why it feels intense. That's why it feels disruptive. That's why it feels destined. So if you felt a strange stirring lately, a sense that you're being seen without being touched, don't dismiss it. That's how transformation begins, not with a shout, but with a quiet ripple that eventually becomes a wave. Keep being yourself. That is the medicine. That is the message. And perhaps, that is the miracle someone's been unknowingly praying for. When someone encounters a soul like yours, Libra, a presence that cannot be bought, manipulated, or softly reasoned into submission, their entire framework begins to tremble. Especially for someone who has spent years mastering the art of control, curating connections that are convenient rather than real, your authenticity isn't just magnetic. It's destabilizing. And this is where the real story begins. The truth is, this man didn't come into your energetic field because he was seeking love. At least, not the kind the world glamorizes. He was drawn to you because, unknowingly, he needed to confront what his wealth and status had hidden for too long, the absence of something he can't define, but that you reflect back to him effortlessly. That's the part that makes him flinch. Because when you walk into a space and carry nothing but your truth, your calm, your fairness, things he can't buy or earn through performance, you don't simply attract him. You challenge him. Your energy becomes the light that reveals the shadows in his life. And while some may romanticize this and call it a soulmate moment, in reality, it's much more complicated than that. This isn't a reward for him. You're not the prize at the end of a race he ran with ego. No, Libra, you are the spiritual checkpoint where he must decide if he's ready to evolve. For someone used to contracts, beautiful yet transactional relationships where affection is exchanged for status, attention, or compliance, you are the exception he never saw coming. You are the first to stand without a price tag. The first to gaze back with eyes that say, I see you, but I will not be conquered. And that, ironically, is the exact medicine his soul is starving for. But like any bitter cure, it comes with a sting. What makes this dynamic powerful is not that you are hard to get, but that you are impossible to possess. Your emotional autonomy, your sacred boundaries, your ability to love freely without losing yourself, these are not traits he has learned to navigate. So instead of surrendering to this energy, his first instinct is to fear it. Not because there's anything wrong with you, but because you represent what he has tried to avoid his entire life, the raw, honest, unfiltered version of connection. One without roles. One without conditions. One that reflects the truth of who he really is when the masks come off. And so, the face-paling moment for him isn't about being rejected by you, it's about realizing that to step into your world, he can no longer hide in his own. You represent a threshold. A choice point. You are the mirror that doesn't flatter, you reveal. And that is what makes you unforgettable. Not because you fit into his story, but because you make him question the story entirely. If you've ever noticed that people project their fears onto you simply because you're genuine, if you've been told you're too much, too honest, or that your presence feels intense, perhaps it's because, like now, your energy is calling forth a reckoning in someone. Not everyone is ready for that. But that doesn't mean you need to dim. In a world where most are still building castles of image and illusion, be the clear water. Be the standard they weren't expecting. And when someone trembles in front of your authenticity, remember, that's not a sign that you should step back. It's a sign that you are standing in your divine alignment. And trust me, the right ones will not run from that. They'll rise to meet it. If this resonates with you, take a moment to reflect and share below. Have you ever made someone step back simply because you were honest? Because you were free? Let this be a space where your energy is seen and celebrated. You're not a storm. You're the stillness that shows others their own chaos. And that's a rare, sacred gift. Sometimes, the universe speaks in a language so subtle that most people miss it. But you, Libra, you were born under the sign of balance and heightened perception, and that's exactly what makes this moment so important. While the rest of the world may overlook these quiet nudges, your soul knows when something beyond logic is unfolding. You feel it in your body before it ever reaches your mind, a soft shift in energy, a repeating number that won't leave you alone, a dream that lingers after you wake up. These are not coincidences. They are conversations between your higher self and the divine order that is always guiding you toward alignment. This week, the messages are becoming louder. Whether it's seeing 222 on a license plate when you're questioning a relationship, 717 when you're about to give up on someone, or 1010 when you're standing on the edge of a major decision, these numbers are the universe's fingerprints. 222 asks you to return to harmony. 717 calls you into spiritual awakening and truth. 1010 signals that a cycle is closing, and a new path is ready to be revealed, but only if you're willing to walk it with courage. None of these are meant to scare you. They are meant to anchor you. To remind you that the chaos has meaning. That your timing isn't off, it's divine. In tarot, this theme is mirrored beautifully. The High Priestess appears when your inner world is rich with wisdom, when you're being asked not to look outside for confirmation, but inward to the quiet voice you so often silence. She tells you to trust your gut, especially when what you're feeling can't yet be explained. When paired with the Tower reversed, the message becomes even more profound. Yes, change is coming. Yes, something is about to be restructured in your emotional world. But it doesn't have to break you. In fact, this version of the Tower suggests that if you surrender with awareness rather than resist out of fear, the shift may feel like liberation rather than destruction. And what about those random moments? That one text that arrives just as you were about to let go? The name that shows up on your screen for the first time in months? The stranger whose glance feels strangely familiar? These are not tricks of fate. They are invitations. The universe does not operate with gimmicks. It works through resonance, and if something keeps circling back into your awareness, it's because some part of it still holds frequency with your evolution. You don't need to act impulsively, but you do need to pay attention. What you ignore may be what your soul needs most. Numerology brings another layer here. The numbers 6 and 11 are especially active now. 6 carries the vibration of unconditional love, of service, of choosing connection even when it's inconvenient. It's the number of the heart. 11 is the gateway, a master number that reveals spiritual insight, but only when you stop doubting your own power. These energies may show up on receipts, clocks, or even as dates. When they do, take a deep breath. That's the universe reminding you, this moment matters. And in your everyday life, Libra, as you navigate work, family, and all the noise of modern living, try to hold space for stillness. For even 2 minutes a day, allow yourself to be present with no agenda. That's where signs become clear. That's where the knowing settles. You don't have to chase what's meant for you. You only need to clear enough room for it to arrive. It's in these tiny moments, the breath, the pause, the glance, where miracles often begin. So don't overlook them. What seems small today may turn out to be the very doorway you were praying for last season. Stay open. Stay anchored. And above all, stay you. There comes a moment in every soul's journey where we are no longer asked to chase, prove, or earn love, but instead, to embody the very frequency of it. Libra, you are standing in that moment right now. After everything we've explored, the magnetic tension, the inner unraveling of someone deeply affected by your presence, and the signs the universe has whispered your way. This is where the message sharpens into clarity. You are not meant to be possessed, fixed, or placed on a pedestal like some unreachable prize. You are meant to be met in truth, in integrity, and in emotional alignment. But not everyone knows how to do that. And that's exactly why this part of your story is so important. When someone is used to power to environments where control equals safety and love is earned through obedience or performance, meeting someone like you can feel like standing at the edge of a cliff. It's breathtaking, yes, but it's also terrifying. You're not giving them a checklist of how to win you. You're reflecting back something far more profound, the invitation to love without domination. To connect without control. And while that may sound romantic in theory, in practice, it demands a level of self-honesty most people aren't prepared for. That's why, before they can love you well, they have to shed the parts of themselves that love poorly. This is where your boundaries become not walls, but sacred thresholds. You are not punishing anyone by expecting emotional maturity. You are not being difficult by choosing not to settle for conditional attention. What you are doing, Libra, is creating a container where love can actually grow without being polluted by manipulation, fear, or ego. And yes, that requires strength. It means resisting the temptation to explain your worth. It means not folding your standards because someone is intrigued but not yet ready. You are not here to convince anyone that you're lovable. You are here to remember that you already are. This idea often brings to mind a very simple but powerful truth. The right people don't need to be chased, they will rise. When someone is aligned with your energy, they will not be threatened by your independence, your truth, or your clarity. They will not try to shrink your light so they can feel taller in the shadows. Instead, they will feel inspired to meet you there not because you asked them to, but because something in them knows it's time. And for those who cannot meet you, those who try to control, confuse, or condition your heart, your job is not to fix them. It's to remain steady. Sometimes, the most loving thing you can do is not stay and teach, but step back and let the consequences of their choices speak louder than your explanations ever could. Think of it this way: you are a door. Not a locked one, not a blocked one, but a sacred entryway. Some will hesitate, afraid of what they might find on the other side. Others will try to open it with force. But the one who is meant to walk through will do so with reverence. They will approach with both courage and humility, ready to leave behind the baggage that doesn't belong in your presence. That's when the true connection begins. It's important to know that real love doesn't make you abandon yourself. It draws you deeper into who you are. So if someone's attention makes you feel smaller, uncertain, or constantly unsafe, that's not your person, that's your pattern asking to be healed. And in that healing, you reclaim your power. Let this be a reminder, Libra, you do not need to soften your edges to be seen. You do not need to perform to be chosen. You were wonderfully made, not because you are perfect but because your truth carries weight. Your spirit was crafted to be a mirror, not a mask. You are not a test. You are the answer to a question they've long avoided. And if they are meant for you, they will do the work to deserve your presence. Until then, remain rooted in your worth. You're not here to be possessed. You're here to be honored. There is something sacred about the quiet space we create when we stop chasing and start receiving. At this point in your journey, Libra, the energy has already been set into motion. You felt the shift, Witness the emotional ripple your presence created, and now you stand in front of the most important doorway of all, not the one that leads outward, but the one that turns inward. Because the truth is, the love we're often waiting for is already on its way. The question is, have we made room to welcome it? This is where the power of intentional ritual becomes a gift. Not because the universe needs candles or words written on paper to hear you, but because you need to feel your own clarity. You need to hear your own voice, not the one layered in fear or impatience, but the one that remembers who you are before disappointment made you forget. A ritual, when done with sincerity, is simply a way of aligning your heart with your desire and giving the universe a clear signal that you're no longer confused about what you're ready to receive. Lighting a pink or white candle, for instance, isn't just symbolic. It's a gentle invitation to connect with purity, not just of love, but of intention. The flame becomes a focus point. It softens the noise of the day. It tells your energy field, this is the moment I choose presence over pressure. Writing your affirmation isn't about magic handwriting, it's about committing your beliefs to the physical world. When you write, I am not chosen. I am the one who chooses. I attract what is aligned with my soul. You are not hoping. You are declaring. And that difference is everything. Placing a glass of water beside your candle might seem simple, but water has always been a conductor of energy. Just as it holds memory, it also holds intention. As you sit beside it still, quiet, eyes closed, you are gently allowing your words, your images, and your inner knowing to saturate your emotional landscape. That 5 minutes of silence is not empty. It is the space where your past and future gently fall away, and only the present remains. And it is in the present that miracles can land. So many people ask, when will love find me? But the deeper question, the one that unlocks actual transformation, is, who am I when that love arrives? Because that answer changes everything. When you begin living as if that love is already part of your world, your energy stops reaching and starts magnetizing. That's the core of the law of attraction. It isn't about fantasy. It's about frequency. I once heard from someone in our beautiful community, a quiet listener who had followed the ritual of writing affirmations each morning for 21 days. She didn't do it to get someone back. She did it to get herself back. But on day 21, the person she thought she had lost returned, not as the same version, but transformed, softened, ready. It wasn't a spell. It was alignment. Her external world mirrored her internal shift. And that is what this is really about. Not forcing love. Not proving you're worthy of it. But choosing, every day, to align your thoughts, actions, and energy with the version of you who already knows they are. Whether or not a specific person comes, whether or not this week brings a message or a moment, your ritual isn't about them. It's about you reclaiming your power to receive without fear. To declare without apology. To embody love without waiting for permission. So now I ask you gently, would you be willing to try this tonight? Just for you, not for the result, but for the release. If something in you feels called, if you can feel a quiet yes rising from within, then let it be heard. Write yes in the comments. Let your voice be part of this living frequency of readiness. Because when your energy says yes with clarity, life has a beautiful way of answering. Every single time. Libra, if you've made it this far, then I want to honor the part of you that's been quietly listening, not just with your ears, but with your heart. What we've explored together isn't simply a prediction or a love story. It's a soul invitation, a sacred unfolding that's asking you to remember your worth, your power, and your ability to shape the life you desire without apology. You are not someone waiting to be chosen. You are not a passive character in someone else's awakening. You are the call itself, the mirror, the message, and the movement. And when someone is meant to meet you in that truth, they will not need to be convinced. They will recognize the frequency. They will rise. You don't need to shrink your sensitivity to be loved. You don't need to perform strength or hide your softness to be respected. You are not here to be less, you are here to be fully you. And that includes honoring what you need, trusting your boundaries, and staying anchored in your truth even when others aren't ready to meet you there. Real love will never ask you to abandon yourself. So if your heart feels heavy this week, check in with your body. Are you getting enough rest? Consider giving yourself what you so freely give to others: attention, nourishment, care. A boost of vitamin D or zinc can do more than you think, not just physically, but energetically, as a gesture of support to your own vessel. And if you've been feeling directionless in your work or finances, maybe this is the moment to shift, not with fear, but with curiosity. You might be surprised how far a creative leap or a healing-oriented path can take you when it aligns with your natural Libra gifts: beauty, balance, empathy, and elegance. When it comes to love, remember you are never meant to chase. What is real does not need to be forced. What's truly aligned will stay, will grow, and will meet you with clarity. Let truth lead, not urgency. Let authenticity guide, not fear of missing out. And if you're looking for colors to support your energy this week, try incorporating olive green for grounding and mental clarity, and rose quartz pink for compassion, heart activation, and self-love. Let these shades remind you of who you are and who you are becoming, not because someone else validates it, but because your soul already knows it. I know life can be busy. I know faith is hard to hold on to when the results don't show up fast enough. But remember this: just because you don't see the outcome yet doesn't mean the process isn't working. Some of the most powerful changes happen in silence, like seeds growing in darkness. Keep showing up for yourself. Keep making space for what feels true. Your energy is not unnoticed. And even if others don't acknowledge it now, the right people, the right opportunities are already aligning with your light. Before we close, let me take a moment to thank you truly. Thank you for your presence here, for your time, your openness, and your heart. Every like you give, every comment you leave, every subscription you click, it's not just a digital gesture. It's a signal. A ripple. A thread that connects you deeper to this growing community of seekers and soul-led beings at Zodiac Whisper Tarot. Your energy sustains this space. Your belief allows these messages to reach others who need them. And that means the world. So I invite you, gently and with full sincerity, if something in this message stirred you, if you felt seen, if you feel ready, leave a comment below and write, "I am ready to walk into my truth." Let this be your sacred yes. Let it be the key that opens the next door. And if you haven't already, I'd love for you to like this video, share it with someone who might need these words, and subscribe to join us on this ongoing journey. Because Libra, your path isn't random. Your energy is rare. And what's meant for you is not only coming, it's already on the way. Let's walk forward together with grace, clarity, and courage. I'll meet you in the next message.